Welcome to Do You AGRAY, a space where we have real conversations. Today, we just wanted to get together, my brothers and I, and Eva behind the scenes to ask us some questions about our upbringing and background. And so I like to, remember things, stories that we've gone through, and just you know, reminisce on what's happened before. Um, Take over here.
Okay. So where were you born and raised?
We'll let the older one start.
Bashar, you can go ahead.
I was born. We were born in Baghdad, in Iraq. Um, we were born in the 80s.
We.
Us two, yes.
Yeah.
And then Nabi was born 90.
At the Red Cross, hospital.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you had faith that you grew up with. So what was your faith background?
When I was a baby, I think I've seen.
Your family's faith?
Yeah.
So that's what you grew up with?
Yeah.
So how was it? What was your faith?
We were a Christian. We grew up. Our family was Christian, which is probably even a smaller percentage now. I think in Iraq. At the time, do you guys know what the percent?
5%.
5%.
It was around 5%.
Yeah. So, definitely a minority, right? Did we ever feel like a minority?
Well, you're not the only minority, being Seventh-day Adventists, being the minority of the minority.
Yeah.
So even some Christians, like at school, friends, or classmates, we would say Seventh-day Adventists. Of course, Muslims didn't really know much about it, anyways. But even Christians are like, oh, what is that? It's just
That's true.
usually everybody's either Catholic, Orthodox, or Protestant, but it's all, mostly Sundays, go to church.
Mm-hmm.
Us from the name is septi, meaning like a Sabbath keeper.
Yeah.
So it's the first thing is like Sabbath or Saturday,
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, Saturday was a school day for us.
First day.
First day of the week in the country, and every school, most tests were on Saturdays, and homework assignments were due. But that was another reason why people thought, why are you guys not attending school while we have to attend school?
Yeah, we had gone, I think, an excuse through connections between the church leaders and the government, and they had excused all Seventh-day Adventist students from attending school on Saturday, and so teachers sometimes didn't like it. Other students maybe didn't like it. Why are you guys special? But I mean, certain things, like you said, remembering just being a minority of a minority, was things like what's being associated with Jews. Are you guys Jews? That was like one of the most common questions
Yes.
at school. There were, I think, a couple of questions that were like common. One of them was, "Can you speak Assyrian? Can you say a word in Assyrian?"
Yeah.
Because I think the assumption was if you're Christian, then you speak Christian language,
Yeah.
which is not necessarily true. Our dad was Christian and he spoke Arabic, and our mom happened to be Assyrian, and so we spoke Arabic to my dad and Assyrian to my mom. It's not the ancient Assyrian. I think it's called
Aramaic.
Neo-Aramaic or Syriac. But yeah, that was those are the common questions that I always got at school.
So I can hear you that you had some kind of freedom of practicing your faith in Iraq, and that you did attend school in Iraq. How was your education experience?
Simply put, not great. Sam touched on the fact that the teachers didn't like the fact that we didn't attend school on Saturdays. for many reasons, of which, you can argue they're justifiable or not. But at least from our perspectives, the word freedom means, you're able to practice what you wish without having to answer to somebody who is potentially in disagreement with you. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, or religious freedoms are protected.
Right. And you're free to practice what you feel is right in your sight.
Yeah.
Simply put, not great. Like I said earlier, I mean, I remember times when teachers would ask me questions about my faith, and it almost seemed like interrogation versus, somebody who just is seeking answers just because they're interested in knowing, more about you or your faith or your background.
I would say not good, not great. But
Well, I think this is our experience, and everybody has his own viewpoint.
yeah,
What they went through. I mean, I was bullied pre kindergarten, in Iraq, or I think in general in the Middle East. Like you're not supposed to say your mom's name. And here I am, a naive kid. I don't know how old I was, maybe 4. and my friends are asking, "What's your mom's name?" And I'm like, "Oh, my mom's name is this," And then they started to make fun. "Oh, the chicken, it's some sort of bird. It's," and so I was taken back, like, what's happening? But besides that, I would agree with Nabil. I don't think it was great, especially maybe elementary school. I remember like crying a lot. I just didn't seem to feel like I fit in. We had a church group, and we would be like, we had friends there, and I felt like, I was engaged and more like a leader, and just everything like normal. But at school, for whatever reason, if there is a pickup soccer game, everybody picks their friends, and then I'm left at the end, and sometimes I'm not picked, and so I'll walk away. And the times I got picked, rarely, I twisted my ankle because I was trying to overperform, so I can show that I know how to play. But it wasn't all like that. I think it was different for you, like as far as sports. And also maybe I don't know if it has to do with personality, but I just didn't feel like I fit in. I was there were times where I was the only Christian in my class, and maybe there was another student from a different religion, or like Sadia, I think they're called. They're followers of John the Baptist. I had one that was like that, and me, and maybe another student that was Catholic, but definitely a minority. And then also like with the interaction,
Our schools were also public, which means it's you're attending the school based on where you lived versus you're choosing to go there because it's a better school. There were some schools that were better, but obviously the schools we attended were not the greatest, and they attracted students that had crime running in their family, had issues, and they would bring in those issues and potentially bully other kids, and we were bullied too. And not necessarily because we had something to be bullied for, but kids sometimes they can just pick on other kids, and we were we were not an exception to that rule.
And sometimes I feel like I don't remember much, but I definitely remember trauma. I was in 3rd grade, and I think it was Arabic class or something like that. And the teacher asked one of the students to write something on the board, and they wrote the wrong thing. And for whatever reason, I was a shy kid, but for whatever reason, I got this courage to get up and correct it myself on the board. And so I went up and erased his answer, and I put my answer on the board. And I'm walking back, proud that how I know the right answer and everything. Everybody's like, look, the teacher's calling you. The teacher's calling you. So I'm turning around, and I was like, what's going on? I thought I did something good. And so I walked to the teacher. I don't think there was like an explanation. She slapped me, and that was the first time I had ever been slapped. I mean, my parents didn't slap us, kicked me out of the class, and I didn't cry, but I was definitely in shock. Like, what just happened? And you can imagine, like, a kid who's trying to grow, trying to excel, trying to learn. You're shut down immediately, and your psyche is it's affected for sure. So I went out, and the only person outside of the classrooms was another troubled kid, who was known to cause trouble. So that was one of the few experiences I've had. But it's so many other experiences, being punished for what others have done. The whole classroom gets spanked, or they used to hit us with the rod on our hands just because a couple of the students misbehaved. So now they have to punish the whole class. So it was just that, when you ask what's your school experience, these are the memories that come to our mind. Maybe you can say something about the paying the teachers to pass your class and things like that.
Yeah. Especially in not elementary school, like
it was middle
school and high school. Yeah, we go to school, and obviously you don't get much from the class, which is on purpose.
Well, the teachers were underpaid though, so they didn't think to.
Yeah, so basically they were paid like $3 a month. So
Mm-hmm.
and
that's nothing over there at that time still.
Yeah,
you couldn't survive on the $3 more than a couple
absolutely
of
not. So that they're not motivated to teach. They're just intentionally not doing what they're supposed to do, so that you can get private lessons and you can pay them. And so this was the kind of system that we got to. I don't think back. Well, this is we're talking in the 90s. And we talked to our parents in the 70s. Obviously there was no such stuff, but and maybe Eva's going to ask us about the wars and those kinds of things. But from 1980 to 88, it was 8 years of war with Iran. And then literally two years after, or 3 years after, we get in a war with the Gulf War, the first Gulf War, with the 33 countries attacking and so on. And so just in turmoil. And afterwards it was the sanctions, and so it was just people's psyche, mindset, and just everything got worse. It's just not rewarded for what you do, and you just try to finesse and get paid this way and that way and bribe this and do this to get your way. So it's just a lot of corruption.
Yeah.
So
I think our family was somewhat well-to-do, so I think the teachers knew that, and it was a struggle to let these kids go without benefit from them. And so I remember middle school. I don't know if I should share this, but I think it was midterms. I failed, I think, all subjects except one, something like that. And even so my family was wondering what's wrong with this kid. But comes to the end of the year, and we always passed because it was government exams. And so even if you struggled throughout the year, what would carry you through would be that final exam, right? And
well, what you're mentioning, they're always knowing these kids have, so how do I get them to pay and stuff. And I know my mom was always involved in much of our lives in general, but in education. So she didn't really want to, because if you do, it's not private lessons really. I mean, what it is it's they give you the questions.
You're paying, so you can pass.
Yeah. So I mean, then you go and take the government exam and you don't pass. So
which a lot of our friends did.
Yeah.
And they passed.
Yeah.
Easily.
Up until a certain point.
Right.
Yeah. What's that point?
Here in the U.S., I remember taking the SAT exam, which you had to take in high school to be able to get a certain score that will get you into hopefully the school of your choosing.
Yeah.
In Iraq, it's the baccalaureate exam, and that exam is the same thing. You have to score high to be able to get into the medicine, into the pharmacy. I mean, all the higher education
Yeah.
professions. But a lot of these kids who paid those teachers to pass, failed. What, 2 years? After 2 years,
They were stuck at
they just basically
12th
couldn't
grade.
make it. Yeah, and then what happens next?
Nothing. You just have to keep taking it, right?
Well, no, I mean, you get one shot to take. So some people, if they're not well prepared, they're just gonna, oh, I'm not gonna take it. I'm gonna repeat the whole year.
But
But you have one shot, just one time.
isn't it
Exactly.
after 2 years you have to serve in the military? Mandatory pass?
Yeah.
And being that our country was a, war-torn country,
Yeah.
it was inevitable to be in a combat situation in a very difficult place.
Mm.
Yeah, it was tough.
But I was mentioning my mom, the fact that she didn't want to get the teachers from the school because for that very reason. Because
We were not getting educated.
no, so we find other teachers. They would tutor us and stuff. So we that's how we learned, So, but again,
Yeah, we
not great is being nice about it. It's
go
not
whatever about school.
good.
You have already mentioned about wars and your times of wars in your school. So, and Iraq is well known by its wars and battles and times of political unrest. So, what are your memories specifically about these times during the war times?
Too many memories. I mean, I probably saw the least of you guys since I'm the youngest. But even in the 90s, like my brother Bashar mentioned,
Well, we were in the
yeah, I mean, you guys,
80s, but we don't remember the war in
Yeah.
Iran.
You-
We remember the
yeah, I mean, you technically survived those wars
right.
with or without the memories. You still had to, our parents still had to,
Yes,
while taking care of us,
right.
they still had to deal with all these problems. But I mean, the most recent war back in 2003, March to be exact, is 2003. There were too many memories of just fear, ups, lots of downs, but some spiritual ups, because sometimes when you're struggling to survive, you're drawn closer to God and you need help. But I mean, we can talk about so many different memories. We can talk about one specific one regarding our own lives that were threatened to be attacked by a terrorist.
Actually, maybe should we back up? Maybe in the 90s,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the Gulf War.
yeah. Nabila, I mean, I remember the
That's my
The-
memory, but
the-
you have other memories. So.
Yeah,
I remember the more recent
yeah.
also
Yeah.
the most vividly. So Bashar probably remembers the most. But you wanna maybe you should talk first.
Well, the Gulf. I mean, I was 5,
Mm.
so I kind of remember a little bit. Going to what do you call it? Like a refugee camp or
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
that. I kind of remember that part. But obviously, the most memorable at the time was it was a Saturday night. Eva was with us,
Mm.
and it was wartime, and I think we had come back from the refugee camp at the time.
We were at church in the morning
Uh-huh.
and we would go back home, but we used to go to a shelter.
Mm.
We used to go to shelters.
Shelter. Yes.
But
Shelter.
because of the bridges were attacked and destroyed, and Baghdad is divided by 2 sections by the river, Tigris River.
Right.
So since these bridges were destroyed, we decided not to go to shelter anymore because the shelter was on the other side of the Baghdad.
Mm-hmm.
And it means we will not be able to come back home during the day. So we decided just to stay at home and not go to shelter. And some shelters were attacked and bombed, and people died inside of these shelters. So even shelters were not a safe place.
Wow.
So we decided to live in our homes regardless what happens. If God wants us to live, we will live. If He chooses for us to rest and die, then He will do that. So when we decided to go to church every Sabbath morning and come back home. And then, Bashar, you can continue what happened on that special day.
Well, if I miss anything, you film the details. But I think we were upstairs.
Yes, it was after Sabbath.
After Sabbath hours, after sunset. So we were, we were playing video games at the time. This is
and we had generator. Not every home had generator and light. So a lot of people, they didn't have power. There was no electricity and there was no water.
Yeah.
So not like very few families had the privilege of having a generator that will just help them to have like one bulb, maybe a TV, but no fridge, maybe one fan or
in a very hot and dry weather.
Yeah, but that time it was actually winter time. It was in February, so it was cold. It was cold. You cannot have anything. Heaters, electric heaters.
Yeah, February 1991. Yeah. So
what happened? You want to say?
Well, so
that was 91.
Yes,
that was 91. Yeah. So I think we hear the doorbell. Was it or no? There was no doorbell.
There was no doorbell.
No doorbell.
The knocking on the door.
Knocking on the door. Okay. So in at our home we have the front door.
A gate.
A gate.
We have a front yard also.
And then we have a front yard and we have a gate.
Yeah.
And then a driveway. So that's where you park the cars, and then the gate on the outside. So there was, and when the doorbell is not by the front door, it's by the gate. So you ring the bell there and we see from far who it is, and then we go open. So the design is a little bit different. But anyway, so no, we don't hear any doorbell or anything like that. We just, the car, they open, somehow unlock the gate, open the gate from the outside, and they drive through the gate, the car, with the high beam light on, and we hear someone knocking on the front door. So
your mom,
for some reason, I remember, for some reason I remember looking through the curtains, I think, and seeing a car, with the lights and stuff. So I don't know if it's imagining or something, but I think I remember something like that. So
I think some of the stories.
So she did open the curtain.
Your mom thought it's your grandfather because they used to live across from your house.
Yes.
So she thought it's your grandfather because the knock was very similar to his way of knocking at the door. So she just opened the curtain to see, because the window, the living room window, you can see through it who is standing outside the door. If you look through that window, you can see who's outside your main store, the wooden one. So when she opened that curtain to see who the person who was knocking was, she was shocked because who was there?
Well, she saw that. So she recognized the first guard of Saddam.
Yeah.
Saddam Hussein.
Opened the door.
So obviously we recognize him because we always see him standing by him on TV and things like that.
I think we had like one TV channel that we used to always watch. And so whenever
it was not even Iraq channel, it was from another country.
Really?
That channel. That was a neighboring country that we were able to just see the news of Iraq.
Yeah.
That other channel.
Yeah. That's during the war.
During the war.
Yeah.
But for a long time afterwards, it was that one channel, as far as I remember. It was on that channel. That's what you can see.
But yeah.
So yeah, we used to see the president, Saddam,
Yeah.
with his guard standing next to him. So the
Right.
guard was almost as popular as Saddam was. So that's who my mom
So
thought.
she saw,
I-
and she recognized, obviously.
Yeah.
And so she.
And what do you
she
do when
opened-
you see?
She opened the door and he told her, Mr. President wants to visit you.
Yeah.
And she said, yes, he's welcome. And she actually closed the door.
Yeah.
And she went inside
Yeah.
to call us, to call your dad. He was upstairs, and to call us.
Yeah.
And she said, Mr. President is visiting us.
Well, she tells my dad, the president is visiting us.
Yes.
So, ironically, my dad doesn't question.
Yeah.
He's not saying, "Oh, that's no way.
You're joking.
You're joking. Come on," or anything like that.
You don't joke about this.
No. So, like,
Yeah.
I mean, also from his perspective, like, why wouldn't my mom joke about something like this?
Yeah. You just got ready.
So we got ready, came down,
And then she opened the
and
door for
and of course, we came down, and they opened the door, and I don't know how long did he stay for, an hour?
about maybe half an hour, something like that.
Hour.
And it was very, very easy visit.
Yeah.
Like the person for years.
Yes.
Talking in general things
just-
about school and
Right.
work and
Yeah.
and seeing some of the toys or you had in your front yard. And he was saying, oh, there are some, athletes in this house that have all these, like
Yeah.
kind of toys that you had, slides and hanging. And
Yeah.
so he was, the talk with him was you feel very at ease
Yeah.
talking with him.
Right. It's not like
Little sense of
awkward.
humor.
And we even offered him some sweets and he took and
Yeah.
ate, which
Yeah.
he didn't do normally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But he had a trust and he knew probably where he's coming to.
Mm.
And he had like faith in Christian people. He liked Christian people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he took that sweets and he ate it. And the interesting thing is Nabil was a baby and it was his first time to walk. And he walked from me to the president at that time,
Yeah.
Saddam. He walked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the first time.
It was his first time to
Yeah.
walk.
And then he didn't walk for
Walk
a couple months. I don't know.
years.
Oh,
We sat on his lap, I think.
yeah.
That's my. I
Take picture. Yeah.
I very faintly remember. Like
I remember. Yeah.
I was-
I was
was-
sitting on the left. You were sitting on the right.
Yeah.
Just generally watching TV when he goes visits families and stuff, and the kids are always sitting. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
we felt.
And then you said we took a picture with him, and the time I think it was filmed, the photos and the cameras. So
Yeah.
we took it to develop. I think as far as I've heard,
Yeah.
to develop it at the camera shop, and then they said that the film has
It was burnt.
burnt.
Yeah.
And so
The camera had a fault, so we don't know if it was really that wasn't
Well,
easy,
yeah.
or probably they just didn't want to destroy. But what
Mhm.
happened after that visit the next day? Can you tell us what happened? Do you remember?
Yeah.
That you
He
received
said,
you received a gift from the president,
"Oh, like
a monetary gift.
Oh.
Yes. The next day, a person who was a driver at probably one of his palaces went to all the homes that the president visited at that time and gave them an envelope. So you received an envelope from the president with the presidential stamp on it,
Mm.
the envelope. And it was a monetary gift that was being given to you
Yeah.
because he visited you. It was like a thank you because you opened your doors to welcome me in.
Yeah.
we never really found out exactly why he came. I mean, from what we heard from parents, and he was just,
Speculations.
he obviously talked to my dad. How was your job, his work, and what do you call it? Like just a regular conversation. But he was asking about other neighbors or people in the neighborhood, but we didn't really. We
He
didn't
heard
really
that
know.
someone got married during the war, and that's why he asked about them. So probably he wanted just to go and give them a gift that they were brave enough, to get married during such time of trouble.
Well,
Yeah.
But it was his custom to visit people It was not something new to him. And he didn't stop it even during, the wartime. And even though the missiles were above our heads.
Yeah.
Could have been also him
Way of
hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was sometimes staying over at some people's homes during that time. So yes, it could be, but people were welcoming, and no one gave him in, to say that he's here.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there were people that loved him and respected him as a president, regardless of whatever the country was going through.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the questions my mom asked was, you see all the destruction that's happening, like what's going to happen? And he said, he did like this 2 years.
Actually,
Everything will...
3 months, he said.
3 months?
3 months.
Oh.
And actually, in 6 months, everything was rebuilt. Somehow, all the bridges that were destroyed, they were rebuilt because the workers were working 24 hours. Like shifts of workers were
Wow.
to rebuild what was destroyed.
Yeah.